thought it was very beautiful. It's in my computer, very clear. It's also a good 49, 50 years ago, that's this little thing of Polycount teaching, and benches, a very good little Tom, and he's, not Benji, what's his name? Berkey, and he's listening in, and everything. They're always, what am I talking about? And in the end, Polly says, what a point. We're going fast. When Moshiach had time, to be tumbling. We want Atmos now.
Yeah.
You follow? What is you in turn? Say the time.
Yechi Adonenu, Moreinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach, Yechi Adonenu, Moreinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach, Yechi Adonenu, Moreinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach,
I get up very early. I get up very early for work, so I have to go. I feel nothing sudden. Huh?
You should come to Rome.
You know what I mean. I know what you mean.
It's no excuse.
Adonenu, Moreinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach, V'Elam Bo'ed. Adonenu, Moreinu v'Rabbeinu, Melech HaMashiach, V'Elam Bo'ed. Yechi HaMelech,
So I want to try and get over our last message. I'm going to have to leave. So what happened to? Oh, he's probably resting now. So I want to give over a message, and I want to tell him otherwise. But it could be that you have heard this mitzvah, but I'm not sure if I told it or not. But it's probable that you heard the mitzvah. It's well known that before the Rebbe gave the Horah that I come to work in the yeshiva, I was already in the koil. They founded a koil in Lud, and they brought it here to Chabad. And it was an unusual thing in Chabad. Thanks. Thanks very much, Shema. In those days, that was an unusual thing in Chabad. Yeah, there weren't koilos in Chabad in those days. And they asked me to come and be like the mashgiach and the chassidus. In those days, the Avrechim in koilo used to learn chassidus. Nowadays, nobody would dream of asking them to do that. In those days, that was the way it was. The Avrechim had a Seder Chassidus, and then they used to dub them together. And then I was more or less, after that, I was more or less free, because in the evening there wasn't a Seder Chassidus come over, but in the morning. So my job was in the morning and by davening, but I used to daven a bit per arena, so I had an opportunity. So I davened a bit, and then later I would sit in Seder and I would learn Yerodea and with everybody, basic. So that's how it was in those days. I used to travel from Bnei Brak to Kol Chabad. It was a whole sugi in those days, but I used to make it for the Seder. And then all of a sudden, the Rebbe gave this amazing horror about the yeshiva. So a couple of months after, I wrote the Rebbe that I don't know how I'm going to be able to keep both. If I'm going to be able to both him, it's going to be hard for me. But if I'll be by the yeshiva, the koilo, say the chassidus, I'll miss the chassidus with the bocher. So I got an answer from the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said that not by even pitoimi, or not by even long either, I should gradually go over to the yeshiva and be Messiah in the koil. I should go over. So Kunta is that the Rebbe knew that I was completely another Meiser. So you guys already heard the Meiser?
No, mutalach.
Yes, so I'd already been Messiah in Koil, and I went over to Yeshiva. This is in Toshin Kovches. So in Toshin Lamed, I was by the Rebbe for Tishrei. And by Simchas Torah, I all of a sudden got, had to cut a courageous mishugas that I wanted to stand Simchas Torah right down near the Rebbe. Why? All the big fighters, they do it. Why shouldn't I do it? Normally I would stand back somewhere, and you can still see the Rebbe, but there was a big area underneath the Rebbe's platform. That was called the washing machine. Everybody called it the washing machine. And if you were courageous enough, you felt you were strong enough, you went to the washing machine, but who knows how you would come out. So I says to myself, I'm going to see what it's like in the washing machine. I'll be able to watch the Rebbe. So anyway, what happens? The Rebbe got the first kofer, like I said, in the boat. So I'm sort of in the washing machine, about halfway through it. And so the Seder was that the Rebbe would be on the bima, and his hakover, he used to dance with the Rashak. The two of them danced on their own, but the Rebbe used to go through the whole crowd to a big square, area in the middle of 7. So it was just him and the Rashak down on their own in that square. And the Rebbe used to go through the whole crowd in order to get to that square. So, how do you get the Rebbe through that whole crowd? It's impossible. You just got kufis, packed one against the most extreme package of human bodies, How was the Rebbe going to go through? So you know what they had, what they called the Vad HaMasadeh.
Oh boy.
And this Vad HaMasadeh, they were a group of Bocharim who had been chosen for their muscular building and power. Not only they were built mostly, but they were power. So what they used to do was stand near the stairs, where the river comes from the bima, and they would, on two sides, they would put out and join their arms like that with one another, and they would just leave her back. Well, all these kuffers would get pushed back, and that would leave a small area, like a swirl, for the river to go through. So what happened to me was, I got caught in one of the, like behind the arms of the guys on my side what came out. And these guys, they were mamish, Shimshon a Gibbon, they were amazing. And they're holding one of the, they say, and all the coffee, and I'm underneath the arm, I don't touch it. So the sweat is pouring off my brow, and I'm that's how I am. Even with all the air conditioning, So the river came down the stairs, then the river came through. The river was carrying his sefer. And first went to Rav Chadakov, I think, maybe they were gone, then the river. And I couldn't really see properly. I'm all half strangled. I'm sort of like this, and the sweat is pouring off me. I'm all sort of, my shirt took us over here somewhere, and I'm here, So, but I could see the river pause for him, and he looked into my face, and the river smiled as much say, "What are you doing? You're here." But he didn't say, you're like that, very sort of mischievous type of look, So then all of a sudden the river said something to me. But because of not because I didn't hear, in those days I heard normally. Nowadays I wouldn't hear because I don't hear. But because of all the pressure, and I was sweating, so there was a lot of background noise, and I didn't hear what the river said. The river said something to me, but I didn't hear what it was. So, there's a person there that I am at a Yom Hazeh, and he makir oto. I really am very grateful to him. And I don't know him. I don't know who he is. I didn't know who he was then. Afterwards, I never saw him much anymore because so many thousands of people. So what happened was, he crawled up on somebody's shoulder, and he was quite a well-built person, and he spoke both Yiddish and English. You follow? So he was conscious that maybe I didn't hear because of the situation, So he calls out to me in English. He didn't want people to understand, those that didn't understand English. Instead of calling in Yiddish, he called me in English. And he said, Rabbi Gafne, do you hear what the Rebbe said? And I said, no, I didn't. So he said, listen, the Rebbe said, kach v'kach, and he repeated word for word in Yiddish what the Rebbe said to me. You follow? And I just, I was just unbelievably moved by what I heard, and I was tremendously grateful to him. But I didn't know what there was upshot,
What did he say? What did he say?
So what did the Rebbe say? What did the Rebbe say? So the Rebbe looked at me and he said, "Es soll sein a simcha von ganzen koilo." It should be a simcha for the whole koilo. Now, I wasn't connected with the koil at that point anymore, only for at least a year and a half. Wait. And the Rebbe himself, he gave me a hoirah to leave the koil. So why would the Rebbe say to me, "Zol sein a simcha von ganzen koilo"? So I didn't, I didn't know what to make of it, but I thanked this guy very warmly. I called out to him. Thank you terribly. You've done a great Gemara. Then he just went down from the shoulder and he disappeared amongst the sea of bodies, you know.
It was Eliyahu Hanavi.
Could well be, he disappeared amongst all the body. So anyway, I'm trying to break my head, you know, what does this mean, you know? The Rebbe knows and the Rebbe gave me a bracha for my work in the yeshiva. Yes. So, I think you probably know about it. I don't know about some of you guys, but quite a lot of my guys, after the first couple of rounds in the yeshiva, they got married. And they went to learn in the koil. And Avram Hirsch, he was the Rosh Hashanah. He was your Rosh Hashanah, no? He was your Rosh Hashanah.
When I was in yeshiva.
Yeah. Avram Hirsch, yeah. And Avram Hirsch was a most amazing chesed, you know, ish chesed. That's why he used to be what your Uncle Katz did. He used to be the mashgiach in the Zal. In Lud, he was the mashgiach in the Zal. And they loved him and they want to keep him. He was a great Talmud Chacham, but he wasn't any good as a mashgiach because he was too nice with the bocher. The bocher would come late and say, "Oh, ja, Miss Thomas, ich hab das Schlaf, you know. Miss Thomas, die gedacht haben, das, you know, is tut die weite Kopf, you know, and he, and instead of roaring him up, why didn't he go later, Rav Kutcher, and Rav Kutcher would tell me, was I, wo bist du, you know, another way altogether, you know. So they took Avram Hirsch away from the yeshiva, and they made him the Rosh Hashanah. And in the Koil, he was bull, he was beautiful. Yeah. So what happened was that several of my Ingolite went over into the Koil. Well, comes up to me one day, a frying ball, and he said, "Listen, we're trying to make a Masuda on Hola of the Koil." And he said, since you have Talmidim that are in the Koil, whenever there will be an Hola meeting of the Koil, we'd like you to come. Yeah, you don't have to have all the other things of the Koil up in Corp. That's over from here. He said, but when there'll be a meeting discussing about what's happening, and what is a good, since you know these guys better than anybody, we want you to be at them. So I became like Shire back to the Koil. And this is about already also a couple of years after that happened. Yeah. And yet nonetheless, you see how the rivers are born. The river said to me, as I was in a simcha, van ganzen Koil. Now, even more than that, when I say even more, I don't know about even more, but anyway, in Sfas, my son, Yosef, he has a Koil. So when I went to live in Sfas, what did I do? He asked me to come and help him with the Koil. So I went, and I used to give 3 shurim a week in the Koil. Right now, I don't do it, because there's a bit of a shinoi in the Koil. I used to teach mainly in the afternoon. Now they don't have the same people in the afternoons as what they have now. It's a bit of a different arrangement, because the finances is a problem now. So the last few months I haven't been giving the shurim, but I used to give shurim. I used to teach Tanya twice a week. Then I used to give a shir klali, a shir in the Koil. So Yosef, he says, you see, that the Rebbe says, you know, 35, 40 years later, you know, it became a simcha for the whole Koil. So I don't rule that out. You know? I don't rule it out. So it's just, it's unbelievable. So what I wanted, I don't know why I told that story, but anyway, and maybe that's not what I meant to tell, but that's what came out. But anyway, I just want to tell you guys that, that I've always been a bit of a sort of, you know, I wouldn't call myself a rebel, but, you know, I've always been a bit, crazy. So recently I give a shiur in Lakutei Torah on Shabbos morning in Amina where I daven in Tzfat. So ever since I came here, I've been doing it. I've been doing it already for about 4 or 5 years solid now. And I always knew Lakutei Torah a bit, but I started learning Lakutei Torah in a very different way than I learned it when I was young. Well, I'm already a lot older. You get a bit more clever when you get old, So I learned it a bit different. You should realize it's just unfathomable what the altar is. And he's got a moment in Pasuk Teza, it's the last moment. And the altar Rebbe says over there that when the Beis HaMikdash was standing, it was ideal for every Yid and for the whole world. Everybody had benefit from the Beis HaMikdash. And it affected Latoya, and Alachas become a Yidden. Their whole relation to Elokus was B'kol Atzmusam. B'kol Etzem Minyona, they were into Elokus. Because you could just be in Jerusalem and you could see Nisim the whole time, Elokus B'kol Etzem. So he said, in Golos Sanistasa. And he says, it's a very hard thing, the Alter. He says, even people in the Golas who manage to keep everything and they do everything, but it's not B'kol Atzmusam. It's always a little bit it's sort of half, one foot in the Golas, one foot out of it, tears, things that get in the way. He said, they're not necessarily to blame for all of that. But he said, that's a matter. So he says the Alter, that's why I'll say that Ein Yisrael Nikolim Ela B'tshuva. And that's what the Rambam writes, that Im Yisrael Oisim Tshuva Miyad Haim Nikolim. Im Loi Nikolim. The Rambam brings it in the positive and in the negative. So the Alter says, what do you need tshuva for? What is the end of tshuva? So the Alter says that tshuva is the return to that state like it was in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, that your whole etzem is only Elokus. Everything, your whole being, your whole person, everything. It's only Elokus. And he said, how do you get to that? You have to be a bit mature. Yeah. He said, Eino al pidas klal. And he said, that's the Indian. But he doesn't say what I say, but he says, Ze Shenema im choloi chofatzti, and he wrote Rachel Akus Levade. What are the Alter? He will not stand and will manage to take away. But he said, that's how a person in the Golas gets back to the Beis HaMikdash. And then he writes, Ubezeh talui bias HaMashiach. Moment, I can show you. It's written those words. Bezeh talui bias HaMashiach. As I saw it the Alter. And well, we're not just playing around here with some sort of a very beautiful, group of oivdim or something they get up in. He wants that all of us should be perfect, if you manage as dichalein and does it tshuva. And he said, therefore, there's very few individuals in history have really managed that. But in the last generations before Mashiach, that's the Tobiyah. Yeah, that's what we're the man. But Mamela, he said, does it the way it is. Not because of, it could be a person in the Golas doesn't do any Averas. He doesn't need tshuva on Averas, but And the Alter Rebbe said he doesn't want to talk about that. We're all to the bells there. We're talking about tshuva, mashu acher. And it's all over. If you look in Likutei, every couple of memorim, he gets onto the same thing, from a different angle, at the same. Of his mom's pillar. That's the message. You know, Chabadske is nicht, it's not normal, you know. It's, and later on, way down in our generation, the Rebbe Rayatz called it Shtus de Kiddush. Shtus. It's Meshuggah of its whole. Yeah. And the more I learn Likutei, but you know, the more I go through it, I don't go through all the drusim, but I manage to cover a bit of ground, you know, because they expect me to give this class, you know. It's just another world, you know. It's what he brought into the world, you know. And that all came down, and it became a yeshiva with a group of bochurim, and that's what ultimately the Rebbe Rashab wanted of the bochurim. He wanted Teishukim. A bit cuckoo, you understand? And there were bochurim who did it. And there were the guys and David Horeb Doker. He used to stomach around and he didn't know anything what was going on. A bochurim. Who lo yada eifu. Bo'elon. And that was Talmud in the yeshiva, Talmud. And the Rebbe Rashab said that's what he meant. Das ist der Chabadske, guys, that's it. Das ist der Chabadske. Nowadays, it gives itself out in different ways, but it's still, people go out to Himalaya or somewhere, the Facebook, they open up and they say, what's going to be with your normal life, you know, who's my sugar? You know. That's the way it is. It's a bit in a different way of the way the Alter Rebbe bought. Now you can see why these people sent the Alter Rebbe, why they sent him to prison. Okay, they said this guy's, you know, he's making the whole world Mashiach. You ever heard of such thing? You know? Everybody. And Hashem should open everybody to Aksiva and Aksim, I tell you. I don't know, I wandered around a bit tonight, but I wanted to get certain things off my chest. I had to get it out. So I hope you guys are not complaining, but it's very important. It's Medavism. And you have to realize that that's Tolchet, man. That's the damage. And therefore, Chayalei based over it is. And the Rebbe said about us that we're in the middle of the pack. How that happened, don't ask me, but it happened.
That's what Goldsmith said. Reb Goldsmith, you got that sign on a stigl nar. Reb Goldsmith.
Ja, Reb Goldsmith, ja. Dat zijn een naam met een beetje zeggen. Ja. You have to be Meshuggah, but with a bit of seichel. Yeah. I knew these people. I heard from them. Yes. So listen, Shia.
I have to pick my wife up.
Yes, I have to get in touch with you about Swarm, but I don't have time. But
So get in touch.
I'll get round to it, basically.